And good evening once again from our NBC News headquarters here in New York. Day 1086 of the Trump administration and 298 days to go until the 2020 presidential election. At the very top of our broadcast here tonight, we want to pause right quick for some breaking news that came out about 17 minutes before we came on the air tonight. And it is this: Iran has admitted to shooting down the Ukrainian passenger jet the night of the missile attack, with 176 innocent souls on board. It was believed that as soon as the aviation world got its hands on the actual evidence, the wreckage, the black boxes, Iran story wouldn't hold up. Then just yesterday, that video, damning video, came out appearing to show a surface-to-air missile hitting its target over Tehran. They are calling it unintentional. They are calling it human error. But this is a major Rubicon tonight, and a moment we should note. We'll talk about it later on with one of our guests from the region. Meanwhile, in things domestic, it appears tonight that we have passed something of a marker in this country, meaning we are looking at the start of an impeachment trial. Today, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told her fellow Democrats in a letter that she has, quote, asked Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler to be prepared to bring to the floor next week a resolution to appoint managers and transmit articles of impeachment to the Senate. As you know, this comes 23 days now after the House actually impeached the president, effectively ending the standoff between the speaker and Mitch McConnell. Trump's reaction came in this interview with Fox News.
I think it's ridiculous. She should have sent him a long time ago. It belittles the process. Nancy Pelosi will go down as probably the least successful Speaker of the House in the history of our nation.
President with Laura Ingraham from earlier today. Pelosi's decision means the trial could get underway sometime next week, but we'll also be discussing this with one of our guests tonight. These things start slowly at first. And this finds the president presently caught up in the growing controversy about the shifting justifications for the drone strike against the Iranian General Soleimani. Here is some of what we have heard from the president and his people just yesterday.
We had very good intelligence that there was an imminent attack being planned. It was imminent. You never know the time and place of these things with perfect particularity, but we had very good information that there were imminent attacks.
There is no doubt that there were a series of imminent attacks that were being plotted by Qasem Soleimani. We don't know precisely when, and we don't know precisely where, but it was real.
Soleimani was actively planning new attacks, and he was looking very seriously at our embassies, and not just the embassy in Baghdad.
Then this morning, Secretary Pompeo was back before reporters with a slightly different account.
We had specific information on an imminent threat, and those threat stream included attacks on U.S. embassies. Period. Full stop.
So you were mistaken when you said you didn't know precisely when and you didn't know precisely where.
Nope, completely true. Those are completely consistent thoughts.
Why can you say that here and the president could say it at a rally in Toledo, but no one said it to lawmakers behind closed doors in a classified setting, as multiple senators have since said?
We did.
You said so. The senators are lying when they say that
we told them about the imminent threat. All of the intelligence that we've briefed, that you've heard today, I assure you, in an unclassified setting, we provide in the classified setting as well.
To be clear, you told them that embassies were to be targeted. That was the imminent threat.
I'm not going to talk about the details of what we shared in the classified setting.
So that's how that went. And not long after that, Trump divulged more information to Fox News.
Don't the American people have a right to know what specifically was targeted without revealing methods and sources?
Well, I don't think so, but we will tell you that probably it was going to be the embassy in Baghdad. I can reveal that I believe it would have been 4 embassies.
Lawmakers who were in the administration's classified briefing earlier this week said this was news to them.
There is nothing that substantiates that claim, either that has been provided by the president or the Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense, either publicly or in our briefing.
There has been this evolving, contradictory set of stories, which again speaks to not only the need for us to have a full briefing, but it speaks to the importance of having a full-fledged discussion and debate about the War Powers Act.
Meanwhile, importantly, the Washington Post reports a senior administration official and a senior defense official as saying, quote, they were only aware of vague intelligence about a plot against the embassy in Baghdad and that the information did not suggest a fully formed plot. Neither official said there were threats against multiple embassies. The defense official added there was concern that there might be an attempt to place a bomb at the Baghdad embassy, a heavily fortified structure in a secure area of the Iraqi capital. Post also says the U.S. tried and failed to take out another Iranian military commander, this one in Yemen, that the attempt on his life took place on the same day as the Soleimani killing. The administration has imposed new penalties on Iran today officially, announcing new economic sanctions targeting exports and 8 separate Iranian officials. Wall Street Journal has new reporting about how Trump's national security team handled the original decision to carry out the strike on Soleimani, as well as on the president's thinking. One of the authors of this piece, Michael Bender, is standing by to join us in just a moment. He and his colleagues report, quote, Mr. Trump, after the strike, told associates he was under pressure to deal with General Soleimani from GOP senators he views as important supporters in his coming impeachment trial in the Senate. Calling to mind something Trump said about Obama. This was back in 2011.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran.
And because of the adage that there's always a tweet, it has proven true in this case. In order to get elected, Barack Obama will start a war with Iran back in 2011. It's been an eventful week, to say the least, and the anxiety was plainly evident across the political spectrum.
Nancy Pelosi does it again, and her Democrats fall right in line. One, they're in love with terrorists. We see that. They mourn Soleimani more than they mourn our Gold Star families, who are the ones who suffered under Soleimani. That's a problem.
So the ranking Republican on the Judiciary Committee there, Congressman Doug Collins, has since walked that back today, saying, quote, I do not believe Democrats are in love with terrorists, and I apologize for what I said earlier this week.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.